Let me begin with a truth that may feel uncomfortable at first, but it is important for your emotional health to hear it clearly. Many men believe that the more they sacrifice, the more loyal a woman will become. They believe that giving more time, more money, more attention, and more emotional energy will secure love and commitment. But relationships do not function like a transaction, and loyalty is not a reward for effort alone. If you have ever felt confused because you did everything right and still felt her pulling away, I want you to understand something gently and clearly. This is not about you being inadequate. It is about misunderstanding how emotional attachment actually forms. From a psychological and emotional health perspective, attachment grows from emotional experience, not from sacrifice. Human beings, regardless of gender, bond through feelings. When a woman feels emotionally alive, respected, safe, and inspired in your presence, that experience strengthens attachment pathways in the brain. Neurochemicals like dopamine and oxytocin respond to emotional intensity, safety, and connection, not to obligation. You can provide comfort and stability, and those are valuable, but comfort alone does not create desire or deep loyalty. Here is something worth reflecting on. Have you noticed that sometimes a man who does very little can still create strong attraction, while another man who gives everything feels unappreciated? This is not about fairness, it is about emotional dynamics. When someone feels emotionally stimulated, challenged in a healthy way, and secure at the same time, their nervous system associates that person with a powerful internal experience. In relationships, emotional health depends on balance. When a man begins overgiving out of fear of losing someone, that fear subtly shifts the emotional atmosphere. Even if he is kind and generous, his actions may be driven by anxiety rather than confidence. And anxiety is contagious. The human nervous system is highly sensitive to insecurity. Without saying a word, we can sense when someone is acting from fear instead of self-trust. From a mental wellness perspective, constantly trying to prove your worth is exhausting. It places your self-esteem in someone else's hands. Over time, this can lead to resentment, emotional burnout, and a loss of identity. A healthy relationship requires two individuals who each maintain a strong sense of self. When one partner begins to shrink themselves in order to keep the other, attraction often fades because the emotional polarity disappears. Emotional safety is another key concept that is often misunderstood. Emotional safety does not mean always agreeing, always being available, or never expressing boundaries. True emotional safety comes from stability. It comes from a calm nervous system. When a man can remain grounded during conflict, when he does not react impulsively or beg for reassurance, he communicates strength and reliability. This type of stability regulates the emotional environment, and regulation is deeply attractive because it feels secure. Many relationships begin to decline not because the man was cruel, but because he slowly became unsure of himself. He began seeking constant reassurance. He apologized excessively. He asked repeatedly if everything was okay. These behaviors are understandable, especially when someone fears loss, but they can shift the dynamic from mutual connection to emotional dependency. And dependency places pressure on the other person's nervous system. Instead of feeling inspired or drawn in, she may begin to feel responsible for managing his emotional state. Over time, that weight can reduce attraction and create distance. In this conversation, I am not encouraging coldness or emotional withdrawal. I'm encouraging self-respect and emotional regulation. Loyalty tends to grow in environments where both partners feel strong individually and connected together. When your identity is stable, your actions feel natural rather than performative. And that difference changes everything. Let us continue by exploring something that often surprises people. Loyalty is deeply connected to identity, not the image you try to present, not the personality traits you display to impress someone, but the core sense of who you are when no one is watching. In emotional health terms, this is called self-concept. When your self-concept is stable and internally validated, your behavior naturally reflects confidence rather than fear. When a man knows his values, his boundaries, and his direction in life, he does not need to over-explain himself. He does not panic when there is temporary distance. He does not collapse when there is disagreement. That internal stability sends a powerful signal. It communicates that he respects himself. And respect is foundational for long-term loyalty. Many men confuse obligation with devotion. A woman can feel grateful, she can feel indebted, she can feel comfortable. But gratitude is not the same as deep emotional loyalty. Obligation often creates pressure. It creates a mental scoreboard where both partners silently keep track of sacrifices and efforts. Over time, that scoreboard becomes heavy. True loyalty feels different. It feels voluntary. It feels chosen, not owed. From a psychological perspective, people stay committed when they feel aligned with someone's identity and direction. If you are moving forward in life, pursuing growth, improving your health, developing your skills, and maintaining purpose, you create momentum. Momentum is attractive because it signals vitality. The human brain is naturally drawn toward growth and forward movement. When a person stagnates, even if they remain kind and loyal, the emotional intensity can fade. This is not about being perfect or constantly achieving. It is about maintaining direction. Growth can be physical health, emotional maturity, career development, spiritual grounding, or personal discipline. The key is progress. When progress stops completely, emotional energy often follows. Another powerful factor is how a man handles loss or uncertainty. Emotional resilience is rare and it is deeply magnetic. When conflict arises or when there is tension, does he become reactive and desperate? Or does he remain steady, expressing care without losing dignity? Resilience communicates strength of character. It tells the other person that this man can face discomfort without unraveling. In relationships, small emotional tests happen naturally. They are not always conscious. Sometimes distance appears. Sometimes communication slows. These moments reveal emotional maturity. If a man responds with panic, excessive texting, or attempts to control the situation, it shows fear. But if he responds with calm presence, giving space without withdrawing love, it shows security. Security reduces anxiety in both partners. When someone feels that you are emotionally grounded, they relax. Relaxation deepens connection, and connection supports loyalty. It is also important to understand what weakens loyalty. Constant availability without boundaries can slowly erode attraction. Saying yes to everything, sacrificing personal goals, abandoning hobbies and friendships. These behaviors may seem loving, but they can unintentionally signal that you do not value your own life outside the relationship. Healthy attachment requires two complete individuals choosing each other. When one person becomes the entire world of the other, pressure builds. The nervous system interprets that pressure as instability. Over time, this can create emotional fatigue. Love and loyalty are not identical. Love is emotional and can fluctuate. Loyalty is built on respect, admiration, and trust in someone's character. A woman may feel temporary emotional distance during stress or life transitions, but if respect remains strong, the foundation holds. Respect is structural. It is built through consistency, boundaries, emotional control, and self-worth. Strength in this context does not mean dominance or aggression. It means self-containment. It means being able to feel deeply without losing control. It means expressing care without begging for reassurance. It means maintaining standards without hostility. This type of strength creates a sense of safety and admiration at the same time. When a man stops trying to earn loyalty through overgiving and instead focuses on becoming emotionally healthy, physically energized, mentally focused, and purpose-driven, something shifts. His presence changes. He becomes less anxious, less reactive, and more centered. That centered energy influences the relationship naturally. Now let's bring everything together and see the full picture. Loyalty is not about grand gestures, endless effort, or constant reassurance. It is about who you are, how you carry yourself, and the emotional environment you create. It is about the energy you bring into the relationship, not the tally of things you do. When you understand this, you begin to see why many men feel confused despite giving their all. They are measuring the wrong things. Women, like all humans, respond to emotional truth. They respond to strength that feels steady, presence that feels genuine, and identity that feels unshakable. Emotional safety is about the ability to remain calm under pressure, to regulate your own reactions, and to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. When a man maintains this emotional gravity, it stabilizes the relationship in ways effort alone cannot. Growth and momentum are essential. When a man stops pursuing goals, stops developing skills, or becomes complacent, the emotional connection naturally fades. Female psychology is wired to notice stagnation, not because women are shallow, but because humans are wired to seek vitality, growth, and forward movement. By continuing to evolve, you maintain attraction without having to chase it. Your presence alone becomes magnetic. Handling loss and challenge is another defining factor. Life will always test the emotional connection. Disagreements, misunderstandings, and external pressures are inevitable. What matters most is not the conflict itself, but how a man responds. Panic and desperation signal insecurity, while calm, steady, and grounded behavior signals strength. The ability to face challenges with dignity without overreacting or losing self-respect deepens loyalty naturally. Boundaries are equally critical. Over-availability, self-sacrifice, and people-pleasing erode attraction because they communicate a lack of self. Without a strong sense of self, there is nothing for the other person to anchor to, and loyalty becomes fragile. A balanced individual who honors their own life, goals, and values invites true devotion because they communicate that they are whole and confident. It is important to understand the distinction between love and loyalty. Love is emotional and can fluctuate. It is tied to feelings, experiences, and chemistry. Loyalty, on the other hand, is rooted in respect, admiration, and trust. A woman may love deeply, but still leave if she does not respect the man's character. Conversely, respect, once established, endures through life's ups and downs. Respect is structural. Love is experiential. When loyalty comes from respect, it becomes consistent, reliable, and lasting. The real power comes from embodying identity rather than performing effort. When a man stops trying to buy loyalty and starts focusing on being emotionally strong, self-respecting, growth-oriented, and centered, everything shifts. The relationship responds to his presence rather than his gestures. Silence can be more impactful than constant words. Walking away can create more influence than chasing. Emotional restraint signals power and reliability, which are irresistible to the subconscious mind. Strength is not aggression, it is not coldness, it is self-containment, self-respect, and the courage to walk away from disrespect. It is the ability to love without needing validation, to care without controlling, and to grow without dependence. When you cultivate this strength, loyalty becomes effortless because it flows naturally toward the person who maintains their own internal value. Ultimately, the truth is simple. Women are loyal to emotional strength, direction, identity, and the quality of the emotional experience, not to effort, sacrifice, or presence alone. By understanding this, you can build relationships that are grounded, resilient, and deeply satisfying. You stop chasing loyalty because it is no longer earned through fear or overcompensation. It is given naturally in response to strength and authenticity. The moment you embody these principles, you shift the dynamic completely. She listens more, she respects more, she feels secure, and loyalty becomes an organic byproduct of your emotional health, self-respect, and consistent growth. It is not about being perfect, it is about being whole, about being steady, about being the kind of man whose presence itself inspires admiration, trust, and devotion. So remember, it is never about how much you give. It is about who you are becoming. Strength, emotional mastery, identity, growth, and self-respect. These are the foundations of true loyalty. When you prioritize these, you no longer worry if your best is enough. You stop questioning if your love will be returned. Instead, you create a relationship built on mutual respect, deep emotional connection, and unwavering loyalty. This is the framework that transforms not only relationships, but your own sense of self-worth. When you master these principles, you move from chasing to attracting, from anxiety to calm, and from effort-driven relationships to naturally loyal partnerships. In essence, you become irreplaceable, not because you do more, but because you are more. This is the truth most men never hear. It is not a shortcut, and it is not simple, but it is profoundly effective. Loyalty does not come from being nice, being generous, or being constantly available. Loyalty comes from being emotionally strong, self-respecting, growth-focused, and authentically present. Master this, and you will understand relationships in a way that is deeply empowering, sustainable, and fulfilling. This is the path to effortless loyalty, emotional alignment, and meaningful connection. The choice is yours to embody it.